All right, just my thoughts. I go by the name of Marcus G. Episode 7. Let's stay together. I got my guy, the one and only Josh Moody.
What's up, bro?
Yeah. What's going on, bro?
Wow.
Shit, we going by Shmoo today?
Nah, we keep it simple. You know what I mean? I'm Josh Moody, aka Shmoo. My guy Moody, follow me there. And it's a pleasure to be here, my boy.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pleasure to have you. So one thing we just gonna get into it. I like the first thing that you said when you came here. You was like, yo, it's like a nice spot. Like I always enjoy when people say that because I know that I didn't do this by myself. I'm only like a cog in the machine. Okay. You know what I mean? Yep. And everything that you see, like I was fortunate enough to have two dope people that raised me, my parents, my mother and father, just like really living a life where they were dedicated to each other at a certain point in time, and definitely to myself and my sister. All my life, I didn't really, I don't want to say I was ungrateful, but I was a kid. Right. And one reason the main reason I even wanted you to do this, because I feel like you exude a lot of those qualities that I feel my parents, instilled in me. Things that I value that I didn't always use as a kid. That I definitely apply now because I see the honesty and the fruit that it bears. So, in regards to that, like I kind of want to hear where does that come from in your life?
Well, I got a similar. I had both parents in my household, and we went from living in somebody's basement to living in an apartment in St. Mark's.
Yeah.
From Staten Island, you know what I'm talking about, to living in my father's sister's house before we finally bought a house. And even that house, I watched my father with his hands build, renovate. I mean, it was poop. I think we bought that house for $160 and sold it for $525.
Yeah.
Right? So like literally, I'm 10 years old holding up sheetrock with pops. Point is that like not everybody has this blessing of having two parents, let alone a father as a man. I had a really cool example, bro.
Yeah.
My father was too cool. Yeah. And so like, and mama, he's a country man, he's from the South. So they move at a different pace. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even though he spent about half of his life, more than half of his life in Staten Island, New York. Okay. But he comes from a little small town, 250 people in Williston, South Carolina. Yeah. So shack, I'm talking about 6 brothers and sisters, shack, 1-bedroom shack type of thing, like from the mud. Like people say that a lot, but like my parents is really from the mud. Yeah. So point is that especially when it comes with family-oriented things, like I had a living example day in and day out show me what that was. And I don't think as a kid we don't realize how important that is. For sure, yeah. Right? But now as a father of 2 daughters, right, I now see how important it is for me to be there every day. Yeah. I know the difference between mommy walking in the door, granted mommy has her place. For sure. And then with daddy walking in the door.
I like that you said that, because I think everybody knows, and I always like I just spent hours doing, commend you on just how you represent that. I think I don't want to get into the whole spiel like Black fathers, XYZ. I think on a deeper level, like we talked about, like that overview, like where does that come from? What drives a man? Most of my friends. One of my friends, Andy, he told me like his father, his purpose he feels is being a father. He's my boy Prince. He got married, and one of the things he said he wanted to do was be a provider. Like when I hear words like that, I'm like, yo, like that's real. And because I grew up with somebody who wanted to do that, and I also grew up with an amazing mom who pushed me towards all that you see. You know what I mean? And having that healthy balance is crucial. I think as a kid, once again, I didn't appreciate that. Growing up now, especially hearing, just the way people talk about each other, I fall victim of it too sometimes. But I'm like, wow, like it takes 2 people being on that same accord to like create healthy environments like you see. You know what I mean? Right. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. We lose foresight of that because everybody is after what they want usually. So in that regard, I want to hear your perspective on that, and just like you as you build with your family, like how you go about that in today's society?
I mean, I think, and I say this too, right? I think a successful relationship is simply two people who is willing to give more than what they're willing to get. And I think that's so important because, like, a lot of times, right, and we were speaking about this off camera, right, that price or thinking they can get everything for nothing. And what I mean by that, when I say it, is that like, people don't understand. They see my marriage, like, oh, Moody, you're so happy, your family, it's not the third. What they don't see is the work that is required to keep a happy home, to keep something successful, right? And a lot of times as kids, as you mentioned, like, we didn't see what mommy and daddy was going through. How, like, my parents was with each other for 40 plus years. To think about them being together that long, one person, it's like how much work that takes into that, right? So it's like, I just think people, you know, that's how I try to look at it and navigate that, is that, like, you know what I mean? Like, I put time in with my wife to understand this is who I wanted to go down this road with.
Yeah, for sure.
There was foundations laid to make this decision a little easier. Listen, if I'm gonna go through these hardships in life, this is who I'm gonna go through it. So, like, and that's not easy, bro. We spoke about it, like, navigating those waters. It's an everyday conversation. It's an everyday fight. If you just believe these foundations is laid and then that's it, no. It's like, yeah, you've been training for football your whole life, but if you stop doing it in 2 years, you're gonna be a little rusty, right? You're gonna have to work your way back in it. So it's gonna take constant work. And I just think that's something I saw, once again, coming back to that example. I saw mom and dad fight, but I never saw them leave. Right? I saw them work out. I saw them speak about it. And it wasn't always healthy. A lot of times it was healthy. So I just think, like, it's just staying true to that, and just, like, if that's in you, and a lot of times that stuff is instinctual, bro. Like, that stuff comes out of you. Bro. Like your love for you hold your child, bro, I guarantee you, it's like
world change.
What? Let alone have daughters. But that's another conversation.
How'd that go?
You know, I thought me and the big guy had that worked out. But apparently not. So, like, speaking of, like, I have 2 daughters now, bro. Like, you say what you want. I've been fake a ladies' man my whole life, right? Never been an issue for me. And now I got 2 beautiful little girls. So I had to go get me one of those. That's another conversation. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, like, now I'm forced to view the world through my little girl's eyes, right? Like, no, like, that's somebody, I see a beautiful woman now. Man, that is somebody's daughter. I
love that you said that. I gotta just chime in. That was crazy, that you even just, the other day I'm having a conversation with my sister. Just yesterday. And honestly, we got into talking about our parents, right? And I'm telling her perspective, she's telling me perspective. Because we both experienced, like, that differently, obviously, with 2 different people. And one, when they were really going through it, I was away at school, right? So when I came back, you know, my sister was pretty acclimated to the situation. It was me who was having a tough time, like, what's going on here? Like, but hearing that situation through her perspective, how she received information that she knows, things that I don't know, I'm just like, wow, like, even though my parents, and I even told her this, how my mother will still call my father a good man. My father will still say about my mother. Yeah, facts. My father will still say about my mother, get you a woman like your mother. Like, and, like, when I hear think for sure, bro, like, that's real. Like, and I think about it, I'm like, those be the times where people could say, you could say what you want.
You could have.
Yeah, you could say what you want. Right, and hearing my sister's perspective kind of just opened me up to, like, just like that both sides of the coin, the yin and yang thing. You know, we was talking about weight of superior man and all that. You know, absolutely. And, like, I'm explaining to her, like, you know, like, from a guy's perspective, because I've been through this and X, Y, Z, so this is how this could feel. She's like, well, mommy, and I'm looking at her say it through her woman lens, and I'm like, yo, like,
I can see that.
I feel that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel that. Right. And I think also, like I said off camera, I'm gonna say it again, like, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to speak to you for sure, because I could feel that you would have that balance.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think, how do I say this? We overuse the word balance, but I think a big thing with balance is just that true empathy. Like, that's what I felt when I was talking to my sister. I'm just like, yo, like, let alone the fact that she's my sister.
Right.
Like, you already get a bonus. It don't really count.
Right.
It don't really count sometimes.
Because you blood.
Yeah, because that's an automatic.
It's easy to do.
Yeah, it's easy to do that. But it was the times too, because, you know, I'm being real with her. She's out in the world. She got a boyfriend. Like, there's things I can't control. You know? And I'm letting her know, this is what you got to do. Just to because we in it together. The push come to shove, you know I'm gonna be there. So it's just hearing you say that. I'm a man, of course. I meet a bunch of women, see a bunch of women. I'm like, wow, like in those moments, you know, depending on how deep relationship gets, you know, and let's just keep it on the relationship tip, is like that's the time where you really want to have perhaps the most empathy. And I'm saying that as a person whose parents honestly like still say those good things. Right. That I'm like, wow, like
that's beautiful, bro. That's so deep, bro.
You know?
Yeah, I do, because it's like, right. And I was talking about this with you off camera. Is that like my wife has reached that level in my book. Like that. I don't care where we go in life, in this marriage, in this relationship. That like, I know the person. Right? People change, right? But I know your heart. Yeah. I know what you've done for me. I know what you've been to me, how solid you've been in my life, that like, you've earned that ultimate respect for me. And it's like, she would never hear me. Listen, everybody got something bad you can say about somebody. But like, your parents having the strength or having that empathy or having that, the wherewithal to still say like, no, like, even in her flaws or even in what we disagreed about, there was a reason I fell in love with that woman. There was a reason I spent this much time with that person. Pretty much. And that is still true. Just as much as the bad things you got to say about them. But that's because that's why you're not still together, right? So it's like what we talked about, looking at things in its entirety. And that is so
crucial.
Bro.
It gives you the sanity.
Come on, bro.
Like, and I say that, and I think once again, like that's another, because I've noticed the reverence that you give your parents. You know what I mean? I've noticed that. I've always noticed that about you.
Always, bro.
So it's like, for me, in my perspective, like I told you, like I hit those walls where I'm like, man, like you do this, like, what I'm gonna do? Like, be mad at my parents my whole life? Like, you know what I mean? Like, am I gonna like, and then am I gonna continue to internalize certain things I may not understand and like let that keep on like playing out in my life? And so, just you and your perspective in your life also helps me make more sense of how I think. We spoke about this all on camera, all off camera, but it's just that same thing of the overview, and sometimes understanding that what it really does is just give you that peace. I can't be mad at you guys. You guys are just people.
Yeah, you're a human.
You know what I mean? You're
guys, can we just understand that? Like,
you know,
humans.
Bro. Now I will say this, something that I do, and something I told my sister, just because of the world we live in, and I said this off camera too, it's like we have an abundance of choice, not just of partners, but in like lifestyle, every day. Right? The way we want to live, how we want to be, all these things we have, and we're just at that point in society, right? Years ago, you could say some people, and it's human nature, people did things out of necessity. It's like you had to go this route to get this specific
This is how
result,
it was done.
Right? Yet I think the one thing that I notice is that because we have so much choice, then it eliminates the need, which then downplays the want. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes even the want is not necessarily enough to keep that. And I'm not saying people should suffer, go through things they don't want, but in your everyday dealings, it's like, for a while, sometimes you might get the unfavorable side. When you're dealing with anybody, like I told you, even with Tynell, there's times he annoys me. Like, I love him. Like, in that moment, I don't forget, but I'm like, yo, like, it's not just that I have a need for him in my life. It's like I have a crazy amount of respect for what you've done for my life. And I think even if people take those approaches in like partnerships, right? Or just that perspective, you think about it like that. Because it's a vast world. Who says you're going to meet somebody that actually cares about you?
Right.
Who's going to like really rock with you?
That's
like,
a fact, bro.
You know? And I'm not saying that, I'm not like the most like lovey-dovey person, at least in this point in my life. I'm not really like that, but I will say I do think about those things as far as like when dealing with people. And sometimes in recent times, like I told you off camera, like I suffer from it. I'm like, damn, like should have cared just a little more, like should have put a little more energy into that, should have valued that a little bit more before it's like, now I can't even express that.
But I think it's, like that's, we always talk about that experience, right, and learning and growing, because every situation is different. And it's gonna bring out certain things in you that you don't realize. At the end of the day, we're still a man, bro. We still have ways and habits that we revert back to, right? Naturally, right? Especially guys like us, we were so used to. Our whole lives have been physical.
For sure. Literally. Yeah, until you grow up and it's like, that's over.
Yeah, like literally, like I used to run. We ran full speed into people. Like on the daily, 5-6 days a week. I was running into somebody. So like, as a male, like especially in that particular football place, like I had to learn how to divert that energy. How do I, right? We talk about keeping that alpha, right? All that good stuff. So it's like, it's just important to hone in on that and understand of that empathy, like you talking about, like just putting yourself in the shoes and understanding. Like, I gotta understand my wife. I gotta understand my mans.
For sure.
I gotta understand my teacher. I gotta understand my boss. I gotta understand, because when you understand, right, it gives you that peace. It gives you that. I don't have to. Why is this person like this now? Exactly. Because it's like, no, Josh. Now you know how to move accordingly with that person. Now you know how to address that person. And it's good or bad. If you want to dismantle them, if you want to build them up, you know how. I don't care which way you want to look at it. If you're evil or good, this is a good tool for you to have. Listen, if you want to be the most manipulative person in the world, I'm telling you, it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Because if you know what makes a person tick, if you can understand where they're coming from, you can understand that.
For sure.
So you can forever move however you want to move.
And now this is all where we have choice too.
Right. This is literally, that's why it's never just one way.
It's never. And you want to know something even about that choice? Like, this is like a perspective. I shared this with my sister yesterday, no lie. I'm like, yo, we don't live in a society of like checks and balances really. So you could just get away with murder, and hey, you might really just get away with murder because of, and I guess this is also what I learned, just parents, community, right? When you don't have that, or you're not building that, you don't really have like a definite culture. It's kind of like when we both lived through that era where, street lights is on.
Right.
Come inside. You still got mom yelling out the window at in our younger years, you know what I mean?
Facts.
So we don't necessarily we don't really do that anymore. We don't have like a checks and balances thing. Now I'm not saying everybody, like if you steal something, like I told my sister, no, this is not get your hand chopped off, but there's no real code. There's no real code.
Oh, well, the youngest is different. Yeah.
With what?
The youngest is different.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say, I tell Tom, like I think we got the last of that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
And a lot of people have kind of parted ways with that, like just the idea.
It's tough because like once again, like we talk about this, like a lot of the things that we learned as kids. A lot of it we had to unlearn.
You're right. This is true.
It's been facades.
Agreed.
It's been fake.
Agreed.
It's not real.
Agreed.
So like once again, we spoke about
that point a lot.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah, and that's about with humans too. Like I've used family members and I was telling you like who this person who I thought was the sweetest person in the world. When you get older, when you find out some of their skeletons, it's like whoa, right? So it's kind of like that. And it all comes down to that perception of that life and our parents, right? We had two parents, so a lot of the times they wanted us to perceive the world from
their view. Yes.
Let me hide you from what I went through. Let me not let you make the mistakes that I make, right? So you're hidden from that. It can be a crutch.
Very true.
It can be a good thing. I had two parents who would do any and everything for me. Right? So I never really had to struggle. Yeah. My struggle more came from personal struggle.
Sure.
Not necessarily worrying about where my next meal was going to come from, right? And I don't care if you got money, guys, you're always going to have issues.
For sure.
There's issues, there's always going to be a problem somewhere.
Yes, sir.
So like, I just think that's, like it's just something you just got to come to grips with. I just got to go back to my parents because I got to be grateful. And my experience too now, because my experience has taught me like a lot of my younger days, a lot of things that I'm doing wasn't real. And what I mean by that was like a lot of my dick.
Yes. I
spanked this.
Yes.
Like, we spoke about this. Like
we spoke about this.
Like people thought because I was moody, right? Because people thought I was slaying everything. I didn't lose my virginity until I was 17 years old.
That's real. And like I told you off camera, bro, I wish I didn't do any of that. If I could go back, not even to say that, if I could go back, the main thing I would do was get somebody to talk to just because of my situation, what was happening at home. Because when you mix that with home, it's like emotions, you feeling things for the first time and shit too. Like, you know what I mean? So it's a lot to make sense of. And then, so I really like, when you said that about yourself, I'm like, man, like that's real. Like, because I tell homies all the time, I'm like, yo, actually think about it. Like, when was the last time that you wasn't attached to somebody or trying to do that? Like, do you even remember who you were?
Right, that's a fact.
Before that?
Like, before, like, you was worried about, but it's so crazy, bro. Like, I ain't in front. Like, this is a little different. I've always been perverted. So, like, I've always, and what I mean by that, like, I've always been, like, in kindergarten, I used to sit there. I was touching butts since I was, right? So maybe that's just a me thing. But it's just funny, though, like, bro, like, I think because of these experiences, bro, because I went through that young, like I went through a life of like, I was getting girls,
but not doing anything.
So like I was.
That's bad funny.
But it's funny because it's like I've had girlfriends since kindergarten. I was dating cousins at times. Like it was crazy, right? But like, and everybody just assumed, right? Athlete, Moody was wild and this and that. Eventually it caught up to be true, but like. And I just think about it now, like that led me to like, yo, Josh, you don't got a facade.
Facts.
Nobody.
Facts. And yo, back to, so I even read a quote. I'm happy I even forgot about this, but it basically said like, this is not the case for everybody, but for me, it's like basically, especially when the roots are like good, i.e. parents, or you had those figures, you know, as a person, you might go wayward, but then eventually you revert back to. And I think maybe even with people who even maybe with people who didn't have similar upbringings to ours, everybody reverts back to that stuff that they know, right? Absolutely. But I know for me as an adult, it was like, it got to the point where I'm like, yo, nobody knows anything. And why am I listening to people when I had people tell me, at least the world has changed like you mentioned, but principles stay the same. Like, I'm a big believer on that. Like, there's constants. If people want to get into the universe and all that, there's a way things work. No matter what. Where you go. No matter what time period we're in, there's certain, you know what I mean? Just as simple as ambition, drive. Like you have to work hard for things. These things are constants that will always be. So I found that and especially in recent years, just like, yo, all right, Marcus, you were never really taught to try to go out and have sex with as many women as possible. You've been lucky your whole life though. Like, you know what I mean? Like you've been, before I understand what I'm doing and stuff like this, but it's like, you've been fortunate enough to have good experiences. Like, you know, now I'm out here in the world, like men, like nobody cares about that other stuff. What are you doing with yourself?
Right, that's a fact.
You know what I mean?
It really means
nothing.
It means a whole bunch of nothing.
It means a whole bunch of nothing.
A whole bunch of nothing.
And it takes
like what real value is, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like I can sit here and talk about doing the face out. Yeah, but it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah. And I think even, and fortunate, I don't know if you, I mean, I think that's probably also the subconscious thing with you, like, fortunate for you and I, it's like having something to do helps.
Right.
Always.
Absolutely.
So you have that energy placed in other parts of your life as well.
We're human, right? So it's like, and it's so crazy, right? That's why it's cliche. Surround yourself with the people that you want to be, who you want to, you know, where you want to go, because it's like, I'm very much of an environment guy, right? And I think most people are like this. Like, you put me around, listen, when I'm with my guys that turn up, I'm a different guy.
For sure.
I'm gonna turn up. It's a different energy. When I'm at work, I got my work energy, right? So it's like, I think you just learn to be in tune, and no human is just one way.
For sure.
So like, it's okay when you're with these people.
For sure.
To enhance.
You know why I like where you're going with that? Because it goes back to shout out to Ty, because he'll tell me the same thing in all situations. Your principles still don't waver. Right, so you could go out there and have a great time. That's fact. Doesn't mean you have to.
That's fact.
Step cross boundaries or do things that you wouldn't normally do or that are against. There's just whatever you prioritize or whatever's cool to you. You know, I can't tell everybody what's correct, but it's just. Yeah, like there's ways to go about that. So I just like that you said that, because I think people use that statement and point a lot, which is mad true. But we use it in the terms of like, well, this situation will give me permission to act.
Right, absolutely.
And that's something even back to my parents. Like I learned, it's like, well, I could, same thing. Like I'm not going to. My mother would say things like that. Well, everybody's there having fun. But I'm not going to have fun like this, or I'm not going to. And it doesn't mean that you're a lame. Because you could still get,
you just entered,
you could get whatever you know what I mean? You could get whatever you want out of a situation. But back to what we said, being true to yourself, things that, or just living in your truth. Like, even though I have a gripe with that state, because I think, you know what I mean, there's only one truth, but being aligned with it, being aligned with the truth, you know what I mean, in all situations. So yeah, I think when people hear those type of statements, though, they take it as free range to do whatever, and I think also that's just where like parenting and just having that guidance, having that early on in life helps. It just helps set the tone. So when you're going about your business, you're not.
I'm not even going front. Like, I feel like a lot of this, because not everybody has that
True.
Intuition, and not everybody can learn it.
True. Agreed.
I think it's hard for some because like,
and I'm surely not knocking it
because we can't.
I'm surely not knocking it.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Facts.
So it's like,
and I mean, back to my friends, like, and even my family members, I've learned that. Like I told you, sorry to cut you off. Sorry. Like I told you, like you know, observing my family in entirety, I'm like, man, like I'm up, like I'm really fortunate. I was afforded a lot of opportunity. So I have a lot of respect and love for all my family, even 10 times, because I'm like, yo, like y'all really you made a conscious choice. Right. Even my cousin Bobby, conscious choice to be a solid dude. He lives in the Bronx. My father, they both live in the same block they grew up on, you know what I mean? Great people though, and he makes a conscious choice to be solid. He's a respectful dude. So just in his life, I'm not gonna put it on, but it's like his life that massively way different from mine, and his perspective when we talk much different. But he still has those principles. Right. That's why I appreciate even about him. You know, he had to be a man pretty early in his life, but he's had, like, when we talk, he's no different from you. He's no different from even me. Like, I feel, but just because the principles don't waver. It's just that I've come to learn and appreciate. So no, not everybody has it, not everybody can learn it, but when you do have it, you got to teach.
Oh, right, and that's another, you know, just constantly try to pass that along. And that's something I try to do. And granted, guys, there's no guru here.
Facts. Yes.
This ain't guru stuff. It's just something I try to practice every day. Try to look at things holistically, entirely, and like you use that word empathy, and I think that is so important because, like, a lot of the times that can be viewed as a weakness. Yes. As a you know, a way for people to step over you. But so it goes back to me saying before, when you understand people, you understand how people tick. If you're living, we hate using this term, living in your truth, but like this protects you from
from whatever you don't want. Yeah,
from any of that.
So in that regard, I feel you, but that's because you're you.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? But it's like it's like that's how I approach any person, anybody, any tough guy, right? Because like I use it as an example. I'm light skinned, handsome guy. Yeah, I'm some, you know, somebody might touch you, right? You know what I'm trying to say? People would see me would probably think I'm sweet, right? And it's like and I meet a lot of people with little man syndromes, right? Little guys who want.
It's funny because when you walk to him, like, damn, he tall.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say. So like, without me even, right, trying, because I'm like, I ain't even thinking about that, right? I'll get that. So like, navigating that part was like, all right, clearly you have something going on. You got something. I got to be mindful of. Let me go ahead and feel like big man, bro. Like, I hit my head a lot. I ain't worried about this right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like I'm not worried about that. And it's like having that is real power.
Yes, that's real power, for sure.